Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and I have created a special episode with a friend of mine. So all of you in the mindset, healing, mental health space can actually get clear and understand how to attract clients and make money in this area where I know you're confused, because when we work on healing ourselves, any area of ourselves, of course, it benefits all the areas in our life. So I see so many of you with these vague ass niche statements like, you're going to have limitless confidence and an abundance of openness in your life. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean? No one's going to buy that. So I want to make sure we cover today how you can actually make it clear to your ideal client what exactly you're going to help them with so that they'll be excited to give you their money. So my guest, Mallory Campbell, she is in this exact niche and she does a great job. And if you look at her bio, and I want to read it to you, she's a mindset and alignment mentor. It's like, really? What does that even mean? She does deep work. She's a hype woman. She's a community builder, energy, helping women step into their power, right? That's all pretty general. Now, full disclosure, she's earned the right to be a little more general because she's been in the space for a while and been putting out a lot of content. So she kind of has earned that right. If she was starting from scratch, that would be a little harder. But inside of her content, it's very clear who she helps and with what. And we're going to dive into that, talk about everything from codependency to coffee to everything in between. What's up, Mallory? Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to say this is like such a surreal moment because I just love your show always. I like binge it sometimes. And to be on like this end of this show is just like a full circle moment. So thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so happy this finally happened. And, you know, we were talking, you guys, before we came on, and I've invited this bitch to be on the show before, and she didn't write me back. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to get into like the reason why, but I love what you said. Like when you noticed it, share with them what you said, because this is the work you do with your people, right? Like, yeah. So what did you notice when you're like, holy fuck, the show I love, this person I actually know, and I didn't write her back for this opportunity.
Yeah. So I got the email and like you'd reach out to me like, yeah, that sounds great. And then I actually went in and I'm like, oh shoot, like I actually have to like commit to this. And am I in a place that I'm really ready to share on a show like this and with somebody like you? And what I really think it was a subconscious level of me being like, okay, in the season that I'm in right now, I'm not clear enough on what I actually want to get up and share on this show for people who listen. And it would be doing myself and listeners a disservice because I wasn't ready yet in that moment. And it just came like such a great circle because I'm like, now I am ready and I can look back at it in a hindsight window, which I love to look at when people are always like, why is this happening right now? Like, what is the meaning behind this, right? Everyone searches for meaning for everything. And I can look back at that window and be like, oh, this is exactly why I wasn't able to respond and book this show yet, is because I wasn't clear and I wasn't fully standing in that power that I really want to bring across to the women that I work with and for myself to be able to share things that are so deeply connected within myself. So I'm so fortunate that this ended up the way that it did.
I mean, listen, you guys know me. I mean, if I didn't love Mallory, I would have been already done with her. and her husband.
For real.
Right? I would have been done with your husband.
You
know, your husband, Jeremiah, did the same bullshit with me in a different way.
Did he really?
Yes.
I didn't even know. It was so long ago.
Go listen to the episode. And I called him out on air. And he was like, oh my God. He like made amends on air. He was like, oh my God, I totally did. It's amazing. You guys take a look at like, it's not just the stuff that we do, but take a look at the stuff we don't do, or we quote unquote forget, or we procrastinate on, or we kind of have a weirdness about replying, or we can't even believe we missed something, myself included. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Myself included. I had a big realization, and I know you work with like all different topics and subjects and areas with your clients. And, you know, I talk a lot about money, and I think it was like the end of last year. And I noticed that I was kept putting off like maintaining my big passive income streams. Cause it's like a lot of those streams, like investment accounts, rentals, it's boring, right? But money's not boring, but it's kind of boring. It's very adulty. Mm-hmm. And so I go, I'll look at all my accounts and look at all that later. I'll look at all that later. And months went by. Well, guess how much Tiffany lost by putting that off? And then what the reflection, which I know you'll appreciate, was I have still a belief that's deep inside of me that making money without Tiffany being involved directly is not a thing.
Mm-hmm. I
just did a self-fulfilling prophecy. Mm-hmm. And I lost like a lot of money from not even doing like an hour of, you know, looking at shit a week.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because so many of us, we don't look at the things that we don't do. We only look at the things that are like right in front of our faces, and we're not paying attention to the things that we actually are avoiding, which is like the biggest key to where the work needs to begin or to continue, or whatever stage of, you know, the work in quotation marks that you're in. Those are some of the areas that we don't like to look at because it can be really uncomfortable.
Yeah. You froze for a second. That's why I talked over you. What do you think it is about women or men who are in the mindset space? They want to help people in mental health or healing. Mm-hmm. Why is it there's such a high percentage of people who end up getting stuck because they have a hard time getting clear on who they help and with what? Is it because that particular industry, you're really helping people with every single area of their life, so it's almost overwhelming? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think there's a couple parts to that. Number one would be our own self-reflection, I think, is probably one of the biggest things, because if we have areas in our lives, and I will speak from full transparency, and my husband is the same, who was on the show, there's certain areas of our own lives that if we're not willing to look at it, like with a big mirror in our face and be like, okay, here's where I'm really not showing up, but I'm trying to tell people to show up in this way, but I'm not really doing it myself. It's like, okay, well, no wonder why I can't get clear on the message that I want to share, is because I'm not actually showing up in the way that I really want to show up. And that, for me, from my own experience, has been a huge reason as to why I'm like, okay, well, why isn't this working right now? It's because I haven't gone deep enough in my own stuff, you know, my own shit, to be like, oh, no wonder people aren't like knocking on my door to come work with me in this capacity. It's because I have a blockage in this area. And until I'm really willing to like go down that road, and that's the discomfort that so many of us don't actually want to sit in, is like, well, if I'm telling people about their money mindset, like you just said, but I'm avoiding all of these things in my own life, well, no shit. Like energetically, people are going to feel that. Not only within yourself, but like when you go to bring that to the world, I feel like the energy from behind where you're coming from, people are going to feel that, no matter where, if it's in real life or online.
You guys, this is how this manifests in real time. So I was subconsciously doing that innocently. And it wasn't like I was I mean, I am lazy, but I mean, it's not like I wasn't doing anything. I was launching, I'm running 2 businesses. I was still looking at my stock portfolios. It was this like one sector, but you know what happened? I did a launch. What did I do a launch for? I did some kind of a launch that was more of a passive income launch. How do you think that launch fucking went?
Yeah.
It didn't go very well because I was avoiding the passive income and abundance that was already flowing to me. So why would the universe go, oh yeah, let's give her more when she's disrespecting what's right in front of her?
Yeah, it makes so much sense. It's like, now that you can look at it, you're like, well, no shit. But like in the moment, it feels so difficult and so challenging. You're like, why am I coming up against all of this resistance? And then when you really look at it, you're like, oh, no wonder. But it takes the work to be so willing to go there within yourself, to sit in like some of those feelings, that it's not the glamorous stuff that you may see on social media of what some people are sharing. And I love seeing all the greatness on social media, but I also love seeing all of the realness, which I'm so thankful that there's people like you out there who are willing to be like, here's where I went wrong, or here's where I really needed to do a deeper look, or here's where I really found myself stuck and then what I did about it. And that's such a beautiful space to be in, to offer to people, because that's like real human shit, you know? It's like just the realness.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it.
We can't, aren't we fucking tired of like Sarah, the spiritual influencer, for the love of God? Like I mean, I get it. It's like ethereal. It's kind of beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, and it's seductive because it makes you feel like all I have to do is this one course or one retreat and my entire life will change. And guess what? Right. It's like that. It's that microwave society, you know, I'm not going to have ADHD problems anymore if I join this thing. And it's like, and we all have fallen for it. I mean, talk about the health world, the fitness world. I've fallen for I've tried everything.
Yep. And I've come from that background. Like my background is in personal training, health and wellness. Like I owned a fitness studio for 7 years. And this is really how I got into this work, is because when I was training clients, and I've also been in network marketing. So if people were trying to hit fitness goals, or if they were trying to lose weight or hit the next rank, it was never about the rank. It was never about the actual food. It wasn't about your schedule or what your husband said or your kids needed from you. It's like an inside job. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, there's such a hole in this industry that everyone and myself included, I've done it for years and years and years. Everyone keeps trying to just like put Band-Aids on things. And then they're like, why am I not actually seeing the results? Is because of those beliefs and those blockages that you were talking about. And those wounds can go so deep, so deep. Like I cannot tell you the amount of therapy, coaching, programs that we have invested in to become where we are now. And I'm not saying that to sound like we have all the answers, because we don't. And I do not. But it takes the willingness and openness to want to go there within yourself. And it's just now that I'm starting to transition from, yes, the mindset piece, and what comes with that is all of the deeper work that is accompanied, because mindset shifts are great. I'm here for it. I love the affirmations. I love the mindset pieces. I love that part of the work. But so many of those thoughts, beliefs, habits, and patterns come from years and years and years of living our lives, and from our childhood, and how one situation that may have been a very tiny blip on somebody else's radar of life is a huge way in how you dictate certain situations and how you respond in life. So really being able to connect, of going inward into the body and sitting in the discomfort for a little bit, has been a light bulb for me in doing some of this quote unquote work, is to go really inward and then bring that out along with the mindset piece.
So what is something that you've gone through, that you've had to sit through while going through it recently?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That you can share, and like what that looks like? Because I think for people who have not really done it or have resisted it, because that was me most of my life prior to about 7.5 years ago, I would have been like, I get what you're saying, Mallory. Like, I believe you, but I how do I know if I'm going deep enough? How do I know if I'm in it? So what's some shit you've gone through recently and some realizations you've had from it?
Yeah. So I will say one of the most recent things that have come up, and this was just within the last month. So my husband and I, we entered in a 9-month coaching program. I mean, it is like intense. It's like 10 to 15 hours per week of like mandatory shit that we have to do, that I get to do. Let me reframe that, right? But it's a lot. Like, it's a lot on top of businesses that I'm running. I have 2 kids. I have 2 boys, 4 and 8 years old. I'm married, like we have a lot of stuff going on, you know? And now to add this on top of it, to where we're adding in just hours and hours of content and immersion and implementing and integrating. And my initial go-to, if something comes up that I'm uncomfortable with, is an immediate, like, well, fuck that shit. That's where I go. And the reason why I'm telling this specific story is because that's a pattern for me that I really had to sit with, like, in it. Cause I'm like, I have to make a choice. I have like 3 days to decide whether I'm actually going to like fully go all in on this, or if I'm going to throw up a wall and be like, no, I'm done. And those, I want to say 3 to 5 days of sitting in that discomfort, it was really challenging. Like, I had built up anxiety. I had like so many feelings like within the body, all of these things going through my head. And I really had to get clear and face some of that head on of like, okay, am I willing to sit in this, acknowledge it for what it is, and really like decide this discomfort is worth pushing through so I can become a better coach and a mentor and a wife and a mom. And for anybody who I'm friends with, like, I want to be able to be that next level version of myself. But it really involved me getting like in that nastiness. Like, I had a moment, I was driving to the gym and I just like burst out in tears and overwhelm and anxiety, like a full on panic attack. And I text my husband, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this. Like, this does not feel good for me. Like, I'm done. Like, I cannot do this. I had to figure out for myself what that really looked like moving forward. I'm like, am I willing to sit in this for a little bit? And when this feeling does come back, which it will, am I willing to sit in that and really push forward and acquire some of the tools that I need? So for me, that looked like I got to take a moment and sit with myself and physically breathe through this in order to get to that clarity on the other end. And I had to connect with the vision of what I really wanted. I'm like, not only do I need this or desire this, but the women and people and couples that we desire to work with, they're going to be the direct, and my kids, right? Direct receivers of this work. And I feel like that part gets like glazed over sometimes of like the actual crap that we have to sit in.
Why is your go-to fuck this shit?
Yeah. Right. And
why is that your go-to? Like, what is that protective mechanism give you as a temporary relief? Because we don't do anything on repeat unless we have a payoff. So what's your payoff when you do that?
Totally. It's safety, right? It's a fear of it's not being judged. And I'm also in EMDR therapy, which is I go to 4-hour intensive sessions where you have to sit there and literally relive shit from your past. And a lot of what's coming on for me is the self-judgment piece, wanting to appear a certain way, right? And that perfectionism that so many of us sit with of, okay, if I go into this thing, I want to appear like I have my shit together, right? Like, but those go so deeply rooted. And it's usually, it's just like you said, a coping mechanism to keep ourselves safe. So if I put up that wall or other people listening, they're like, oh my God. And I talk to women, they're like, oh my gosh, I do that too. I'm like, yeah, that started probably 10, 20, 15, 30 years ago, no matter how old you are. A situation occurred. You tried this out. You backed off. You shrank yourself down. And then all of a sudden you were safe again. You were safe. So until proven otherwise, that pattern is just going to keep us safe until we realize, no, I want to push this even farther and get to a version of myself that I have never tapped into before. But that's going to have to look at facing these coping mechanisms for what they are and really challenge that belief of like, okay, what makes this actually true? And what's on the other end of it.
Well, and you would be out of integrity having a brand and a group coaching and retreats called Level Up if your ass isn't continually leveling up. And it's funny when you weren't trying to be out of integrity on purpose, because I know who you are. Like, we're like, Midwesterners, like we don't, we just keep, we just like deliver the shit straight. Like it's not intentional. But it's interesting because I bet you've seen a change in your business since you committed, not just invested money, but committed, sat in the dirty diaper, as I call it, doing the work, and you're leveling up. I bet you've seen what is happening in your business and with your clients leveling up.
Yeah, it's just a whole different energy. It really is, because once we can let down the wall of like that transparency of appearing some sort of way, whatever that ideal image in your head is, that's when the real connection happens. And that's when the real growth is like really in front of us. It's like, oh, I'm not alone. First of all, somebody else is willing to talk about this stuff and not make me feel like I'm alone or some kind of an outcast and like having these sorts of thoughts and feelings, because we're all humans and nobody out there is perfect. And I'm so thankful that people like you and other, people in the space are willing to go there and share these things about themselves, because it's truly so helpful and impactful.
And this, you guys, is how we pay it forward. I'm just further along in my journey than Mallory. I'm always in the dirty diaper, right? But I paid it forward. I had to do excruciating work. Literally, I went to off myself. I mean, I had to bring myself back from the not wanting to be here, having no self-worth. And then me paying it forward is what I'm doing now. And us paying it forward is actually showing up. It requires us to show up, and then look what happens. And now Mallory's paying it forward. So do you think that these ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of male listeners who are in the, I would call it like the intangible industries, right? It's not like, oh, I do social media graphics and I'm even a fitness coach, or I help people win fitness competitions, or I show people how to do their own makeup. Like that's all very clear. My niche is very clear, right? I help business owners get consistent cash and clients online and make a shit ton of passive income. Very clear. Do you think that part of the block and the difficulty people have who want to do, some version of what you're doing, do you think it's more of an energetic block that they're not really sitting in their shit? What do you think the reason is? Because these people are capable and talented and have a lot to say. And I watch people who come to me who they're posting, I mean, tons and tons of content, even good content, and no one is buying.
Yeah. Yes. I would say absolutely. There is an energetic behind it. That if it's not a match for what you're putting out there and what you're trying to call in, it's going to land almost on dead ears, right? Or deaf ears. Is that how you say? Is that the, I don't know.
You're asking the wrong person. I don't really know
I don't
any. I make up words. So
I know. So does my husband. And y'all are very similar. He'll like say something. I'm like, can we get a fact check? I don't think that's an actual word. Right. But yeah, I do believe it's an energetic exchange behind it. So if we're operating as a collective, or whoever is out there from a place of, well, I need to have this because I don't have this right now. I have to make this amount of money because I don't have it to pay for this. We're coming from the place of need, number one, instead of like really calling in that abundance of what we're looking for. I have all of these gifts that I'm able to help people, but there is that aspect of having gone through it yourself, of really being able to walk that journey. Because if it's almost like that imposter syndrome hits, right? Of like, well, you're telling me that I can do all of these things, but in turn, you haven't done any of the things. So how are you actually going to like walk alongside of me, right? And I'm not saying there aren't people out there who have gone through certain situations that can't help you in certain situations, because that's the beauty of therapy and coaches and mentors, right? They're able to give you perspective and different ways to look at things and tools. However, if we're running up against our own blocks because we're telling ourselves a certain story of like, okay, well, I'm not good enough. They're out there doing this. But we feel like we should post. We feel like we should just get it out there because that's what the expectation is of whoever. I don't think it's going to energetically align and really pull in your people.
Yes. This is why I always say, I never want you guys posting shit just to post.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, and you're actually repelling people. That is not the way. That's not the way to go. And I'm also not saying though, like you want to make money and impact with your business to just be like, well, I'm not inspired today. That's not what I'm talking about. Right. We're talking about you need to have done enough work and to be regularly investing in yourself, sitting in the dirty diaper, working on your shit to where you feel convicted in what you're saying and writing. That doesn't mean you have to have your shit together. Mallory already said that Mallory doesn't have her shit together. This is why she drinks like 80 Starbucks a day.
I love a coffee situation. Like I do. Like I own that shit. And there's parts of me that I'm like, yeah, this is just who I am. This is how I operate. And I own that, but it's taken me a long time to actually get to that point of my life of not apologizing for showing up the way that I do or the way that I act or the way that I look, right? There's so many aspects of that. But yeah, there's that fine line that you just touched on of like, well, I just, I'm not aligned to post today. There's that. And then there's like posting just to post because you feel like you have to get shit out there, but you have to know when to call yourself on that bullshit of like, oh, I'm just like, if you're really in something and you are working through something to the core and the depths that you are like sitting in it, right? Yeah, maybe don't share if you're not fully ready to be posting or to share things just to post. That is okay. You just have to own it. You have to be able to stand in that and vice versa, right? If like you're in it and you're like standing in your power and you're like, yes, I'm going to share all this shit and post 5 times a day. Great. Like maybe not 5 times a day, but you want to just stand in that message. You just have to be able to call yourself on your shit of like, I'm just giving myself a pass here because I just want to be like whatever about it. And you have to own the fact that you might not be calling in the people you want because that's the season of the life that you're in right now too, Yeah.
If you are not calling in any clients, I do want you to ask yourself this question. Do you have a coach? Are you investing in yourself? Because why would someone buy from you if you're being a cheap ass with your own personal and professional development? I'm not joking. Important. And I'm talking uncomfortable investments. And now some of you could go, well, that's self-serving because now you're wanting us to buy from you and Mallory. You can call it whatever you want. I have 3 coaches right now and they're all top notch. None of them are cheap. Mallory just is in it where she's doing time, energy. And I know the people she's working with and they ain't cheap. Right. And it's like, you've got to be investing to a point where it's uncomfortable because your ideal clients to invest in you, it's very uncomfortable for them. So if you're not doing it yourself, you're out of integrity in that area. Just because you hired like a coach once for 6 weeks or you did some, group coaching program once for like 10 weeks. I'm talking continual investment and growth and prioritizing it because like attracts like, and you'll end up attracting what you're doing and not doing, like we talked about energetically. I did it. I just told you guys what I did I teach passive income and I told you what I did. I had a launch that, I mean, should have been an easy, at the point where I'm at, an easy 100K launch. And it was like 10K.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I was like, okay, like the universe was like, now, are you uncomfortable enough now to look at this? And thankfully I had a coach, Cara Alwell, the champagne diet. But thankfully I have her as a coach, and I was like tripping about the launch. And she was like, why don't you believe that people can just you can make millions of dollars of people buying from you passively? Why do you feel like you have to be involved live all the time? And it was like, we went deep with it. It had to do, of course, with me being a codependent.
Oh, girl, listen.
I'm like, but I need to control it. I need to be there. I need to be there. And so tell me how your codependency, people, your people pleasing, your desire to control people, places, and things, the perfectionism, all that shit that comes with it. How does that show up in your business, and how do you manage it?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And the first time last year, somebody told me, they're like, oh, well, you have a couple like people pleasing tendencies. I'm like, bitch, please, what? And like the woman I was working with at the time, I would never say that with her. She's like a literal saint. And like, that was my first initial reaction again. And then the codependency piece really came like very much like in the forefront between my husband and myself. And we found out that our codependent patterns and behaviors played in a perfect cycle within one another. So the way that I would respond to things matched perfectly in sync that the way that he would respond to things. And that's why we've been married for 15 years, right? And we're like, oh, okay, now we can see this makes so much sense in the way that we handle things. And all of this is directly, I do believe, related in every area of your life, right? Personal, business, relationships, how you show up in every area. But the people-pleasing tendencies, it can come out deep within your business because you'll find yourself not honoring boundaries that you need to have, right? Like certain things in your life, you'll be finding yourself, and my husband, he was just going over this like last week. You'll be trying to over deliver for certain things in your business. You're like, whoa, hold up. Like I'm not being true to myself here. I know that I'm standing in so much authority of what I believe in. Why am I like trying to over apologize or over deliver or make sure this person is like, and again, not being an asshole, right? You don't want to come off as being an asshole, but if you know what you stand is so much of your truth, you have to honor that, because if we don't, time and time again, our body and subconscious will come up and recognize and be like, oh yeah, you don't honor any of your needs. Therefore, everyone else isn't more important than you are. And then you'll just be running on nothing. And here you are trying to attract all of these people into your business, but we have nothing more to give because we're just trying to like give more here and give more there and give more there. And then, oh wait, this person, I got to make sure they feel okay and I didn't offend them. But like, and then you get into this ickiness of just like, well, okay, first, let me just take a step back. That doesn't feel good anymore. And that's a question that I have to ask myself and my clients of like, are you doing more of what actually feels good to you? Or are you just like doing what you think you should be doing because of society or your mom or your husband or social media or whatever? But does it really feel good and in alignment with you? And more importantly, where you want to go? Not where you were last year or 10 years ago, because this next version of you is going to acquire, if that's the right word, new characteristics, new boundaries, a whole bunch of different perspectives and alignment to really shift into where you want to go, not only where you've been.
Basically, you guys are giving all your fucks away to all these other people, places, and things, and not preserving any fucks for yourself. So can we at least declare that you are going to preserve some fucks for yourself? Because if you don't do that, now you have no fucks left to put in to starting a business, writing a book, maybe starting a podcast. Maybe it's for you to get your health back on track. Now you've got nothing left. And you know what came up when you were saying this? I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I think that those of you, especially who are in this mindset healing space, you guys, there's a high percentage of you that are codependents, whether you realize it or not. High percentage of you who are overgivers, people pleasers. And that's why I feel you are not sure what subjects or niche to focus on within that area, because you don't want to abandon everyone.
Yes.
You want to help everybody.
Yeah.
And because you're trying to help everybody, even in your business, you're helping no one because you're confusing people, and confused buyers don't buy.
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I think that's it right there. And there's people in this space who are really like social media experts, right? And they're like, okay, until you hit like a Kim Kardashian level, then you can post whatever you want to anyone, because they're going to respond, because you have millions and millions of people who follow you. But if we're in the space of just building this, yeah, you absolutely have to speak to the person that you're being called to speak to, and not be overly concerned with somebody who might not get where you're coming from, because we are not for everybody. In turn, like Tiffany's not for everybody. I am not going to be for everybody. Whoever's listening to this, you are not for everybody. There's going to be somebody out there who is either going to be like, not want to be, in your energy. They're not going to want to buy what you're selling. And that's okay. We have to realize that the people who are going to be for me, they're going to be like all in, right? Like if somebody is offended by swearing, they're not going to be your people, right? Because like you just tell them like it is. Right? Clearly. They're not going to be your people, and that's okay. But our energy and time are like intangible things that we can't necessarily see, that are some of the most important things that we're just willing to give away to everybody without a second thought about it, because that may have been what was displayed for us or a go-to from our lives. It was funny. We were sitting at an event and a monk was speaking about this. So it was a really cool event that we got to go to. Like literally he sat like cross-legged in the whole outfit with the paint all over his face. And he's like, energy, would you give your energy just to a random, or I'm sorry, how he said it was like, if I asked you, I'm just random guy, for $1 million for whatever reason, would you give it to me? And most people are like, well, no. Well, why are you willing to do that with your energy? You're just willing to expend your energy, right? And I'm like, oh man, that was like brilliant.
Ooh, yeah, like you throw your energy and time around.
Yes.
Just throwing it around. I mean, I don't do that anymore, but that was my old Tiffany 1.0. Threw it around, and guess what? At least with money, you can keep making more money. There's endless supply of money, but there is not. You can't get time back, and energy is limited. Yet those are the two things you guys are throwing around like no one's business.
You're willing just to give it away to whoever comes by, just because it might be easier, or we don't actually want to sit in the discomfort of making somebody else not feel as comfy as we want to make them feel. But we have to remember, it's not our responsibility for somebody else to understand our vision. It's not our responsibility for somebody else to understand the way that we operate always. And again, you're not going around being an asshole to everybody intentionally. However, we're able to be so true to ourselves that if we truly believe in ourselves and our vision, then the people who are meant to walk that line with us, they're going to just be called in, because they're so just like, they're all in. Like, I know your people, they're all in with you, like zero fucks given. They are in. They're like, I don't care what Tiffany's doing. Like, I'm there.
She could be doing anything. They're terrified, but they're in.
They're in.
Yeah.
They trust you. They're all into your vision and all in of all that you are, they are in. And that's like what I feel so many people are craving, but it takes the work that you have done to get to that point, because you've done the work. You've sat in the shit. Like you've had the moments of like, oh my gosh, can I continue? But like you kept pushing forward, and that's what people can feel from you.
So how did you determine which areas of people's lives that you are specializing in helping them transform or improve in this mindset space? Because you could have gone 1,000 different places.
So where I started was accountability, because I asked the people who I was in community with, I'm like, what is it that you're either missing or that you're desiring to get to this next level? And their accountability was number one. community was number 2. So that's where I started. I just was like, okay, cool. I can build something because it's on my heart to build something around accountability and community. So that's what I did. I literally launched my first program. I had 12 women join, and it was based around some of the basics. And I say that loosely because that's going to mean different things to everybody, of limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, higher, lower selves, things like that, to where this was a program that was a great space for somebody to enter into personal development and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. All of these people are way ahead of me. I should have been at some point that I don't even know. I'm so scared. So it was a very comfortable space with like-minded women who this was their first or second time investing in themselves, who could really come in and go all in on themselves to start with some of the baseline things that are really going to help start shifting the mindset to then get to that next level deeper work, which I'm just getting into now as more of a somatic coach, really being able to hold space for some of my one-to-one clients to go deeper, reflect back on their childhood, reflect back on some traumas, and really be able to guide them through that space. But it took me getting clear on what I wanted to bring to my people. And I'm heading into the 6th round of this program, which is almost 100 women who have gone through this program so far, because it's such a special community that I have not been a part of something like it. Just the way that it's structured, the women are literally their own hype squads. That's what they're called. The small groups that I break up, they're called hype squads for a reason, because they don't have that in their lives.
Tell the people and myself, like, how is this set up? Because, and not that I'm like telling you to copy Mallory, but it might, it might give you guys some ideas of things that, you could create your own version of this. So tell us how this is set up.
Yes. And it has to feel good to you, because any woman that I work with, mostly women, any women that I work with who come to me, I'm like, you have to make sure this feels good to you. So take what you like, leave what you don't. Like, a lot of women who come into my program, they're like, I want to be a coach in some kind of area of this genre or whatever, personal development. I don't know where to start. So I'm like, perfect. This is a great place to start. Take what you love, leave what you don't, and then create what feels really good to you. So how I structure my specific programs is I take groups of women, anywhere from 12 to 20 women, with an 11-week time span. We have weekly calls. We do one in-person event in Michigan, and they're broken up into small groups of anywhere from 3 to 5 women that I call their hype squads. So those are the women they get so close with, even though their goals might be different, even though their line of work might be different. Some are moms, some are not, some have businesses, some don't, who have the goal of up-leveling in their life to find other women who support them. Because a huge hole for a lot of these women and what they're looking for is having the support system of people who get it. And like, that's how I describe it. I'm like, these are the women who are just going to get it. No matter if you're launching a business or just wanting to be the best mom that you want to be, it's almost necessary to be around like-minded humans so then you can begin that journey and that process. So that's how I structure my specific programs. And then we have small group calls as well, to where we really dive in for what's coming up for you this week. And then roundtable discussion, not only with me as the coach, but the women who are in community with you really get to pour into one another and like deep dive. And then we're able to form that sense of like community, support, and really feeling seen and heard. And that's really what we're all craving.
How did you attract people to handing over their money for something that, now granted, how you explained it to us, it is very clear who it's for now. I'm sure you weren't this eloquent and clear in the beginning. None of us are.
Oh, no.
Right. So how did you attract people to hand over their money and trust you in, like you said, this is someone who's like pretty early on in personal development. They want to level up, but like they're not yet at the point of doing this advanced work that they see that's a little more intimidating to them. Like, how did you attract them to sign up and do the damn thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, right. I don't even know. It just sort of happened. No, which in turn, somewhat, it just sort of happened. also, I had a one-to-one coach that walked me through a lot of this process because that was like the foundation of it, right? I found somebody who was doing what I wanted to do in the way that I somewhat wanted to do it. So I went all in on this mentor and coach and listened to what they told me to do. So I wasn't just like shooting fish in a barrel, right? Another phrase. I don't even know if that's what it is.
I think that one's right.
That one might be right. Sure. We'll roll with that. So I invested in a coach because I'm like, listen, this woman is doing what I want to do and she's doing it how I want to do it. Why wouldn't I invest a somewhat, scary amount of money in order to hear what she has to say and for her to guide me in this process? Because obviously what she's doing is working. So that was number one.
And you followed what she said. Hello, you guys. Follow. Those of you who don't follow what I say, I'm just saying. Okay, go ahead.
100. I'm with you on that. You have to be able to be open to receive what advice, criticism, and steps, strategies somebody is willing to give you and to share with you. Number one. So we came up with a plan, right? And then I literally just started sharing from like a space of what I thought was needed and what women were desiring in the community. And the way that I formed messaging to them was I started with what I thought I needed, right? And then I put that out there. Once I started getting women in the program, I had them fill out forms. What is it that you're looking for? What is that you're trying to get out of this program? And then I would take what they would say and be like, oh, okay, this is what women want. So let's use that and really put that out there to bring in more women who are desiring what these women are looking for. And then it just became like, okay, this is really a thing here. I'm starting to get onto something here.
I have a real business now, guys.
Yeah. And all it is listening to the women or clients or men that you're working with, what they're desiring, and then calling in more people. But it's the energetic also behind it of really coming from a place of, I know what I have can really help somebody. And I want to show everything that I am and be transparent and open and really know that what I have is going to transform people's lives. And I know that sounds kind of like la, 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 whatever, but that's really how I did it. I took the advice from a coach and a mentor that I was working with. I implemented what she said. And from what my business looked like in 2020 to what it looks like now, it's very different.
Yes. I've known you. Yeah. So what's the most different though, you guys? You're different, Mallory.
Yeah.
Not that you weren't lovely before. You're more raw, vulnerable, and transparent, which makes you more magnetic.
I agree with you on that for anybody in this space to get to the level where you're okay to be able to share some of that rawness, some of the vulnerability. It really does create that magnetic energy that people are truly drawn to, and people can feel it in real life and behind a screen, on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But it does take that initial investment within yourself to know that you're worth it to show up in this way, because that's what most things come back to, right? Is all self-worth, self-doubt. Am I good enough? Am I enough? Everything is almost rooted and in some sense down to that. But it takes that first initial scary decision to either put yourself out there or invest in yourself to let you know that you are enough to invest in and to bring what you have been given in your life to other people out there.
Fuck yes. You guys are loving this episode. Take a screenshot right now so you can share it right when we're done on your Instagram and Facebook stories and tag Mallory and myself. Mallory is at Mallory Campbell, CampBell, Mallory Campbell. And you know me, I'm at ProjectME with Tiffany. Since 70% of you are in the shower while listening, you can still take a screenshot in the shower unless you have some old ass janky phone that isn't waterproof. So we want to know that you love the show. Take a screenshot, share it with someone who you know who is also in this space that would really appreciate. Whether it's a yoga instructor, it's someone who has gone through trauma and wants to help other trauma survivors. This is a perfect episode for them to listen to. So how I'm wrapping up lately, I'm doing a new thing. It's called Tiff's Random Questions. Because we all want to know like random shit about people. Yeah. And because we're all nosy and so I kind of channel what I think my audience would want to know. So we know like you have coffee problems, as do I, but you like take it to another level. So you could only have, she's like obsessed with Starbucks. You could only have one Starbucks drink for the rest of your life. That's fucking it. What is it?
I got you. So my go-to is a venti cold brew with 1 pump of mocha sauce or 1 pump of sugar-free vanilla, depending on your mood. I do 3 stevia and extra almond milk. That is a go-to order. However, I will give a bonus tip. If you're looking to cut costs and save a little bit, but still get a lot of coffee, you're going to get a doppio, like a double espresso over ice in a grande or venti cup with whatever milk of your choice and the stevia or sweetener in it, because you're going to get a bigger cup with more coffee in it with espresso shots. It literally, it's like half the price and you're going to get like that hit of an espresso shot.
I concur, because those of you who know, I worked at Starbucks for many years.
How did I not know that?
That's a solid move. And I love it.
It's a hot tip.
You actually like know the lingo too. I mean, they like send you to Starbucks University. You know the lingo. That's impressive. You're like, my habit is about $15,000 a year.
Listen, so I'm just going to avoid that, and we'll come back full circle to that in another episode.
Oh my God. That's freaking great. Okay. Another random question in like 1 or 2 sentences or less at the top of your head. What irritates the fuck out of you about the mindset, healing, coaching space online?
Yeah, I think with that, it just would be authenticity, especially if you know somebody personally, but they're showing up a different way online. That'll get me. Like, that is like, okay. And the funny thing that you brought that up, because I used to look at it and we were like, oh, is this triggering me? I'm like, no, it's just annoying. Like, it's just annoying. It doesn't have to be more than that. But if you really know somebody and then they're portraying something else completely online, that'll like really do it. I'll be like, that's just annoying.
It's called being fake. And
there you go. You wrap it up in a better package, just being fake. Yeah, I would say that would hit it.
Your biggest insecurity that you're still regularly working on?
Yes, I would say part of what I touched on, that really initial go-to of wanting to show up. Like I call myself like a recovering perfectionist, because I'm still very much in that in some aspects of life. But really working through that initial go-to of like, I'm just going to shut everything down, and like that FU energy comes up. That's like an insecurity of mine that I'm really trying to, and I am working and processing through with some of the work and therapy and coaching and mentorship that I'm in right now.
Love it. If you could have a vacation house anywhere in the world and money was not, money doesn't need to be a factor, anywhere in the world, for you and your family, where would it be?
So first thought, we love Naples, Florida. That's our jam.
Of course that's like rich Midwesterners.
Yeah.
Fucking love Naples.
And it's like a free area, and that's our jam. So if we can just go there and live our best life
it's
in the country.
It's mask free.
Yep. That's our jam. However, I haven't been to like a Bali or someplace like that, that would be awesome. Or even like Hawaii would be legit, because I do love Hawaii, but I love a quick 3-hour flight from Michigan to Florida to like live, have like a $30 million house on the beach somewhere that sounds real nice.
Yeah. Yes, we're here for it. Well, thank you for playing my new game.
I love this game.
Yeah, this is my new game because I love asking random questions. So tell the people, everything will be in show notes, you guys. So you can just swipe up to access whether it's Mallory's Instagram or any of her programs. And she's the co-host of the Destined to Be podcast. You can access all that, but tell us how they can work with you.
Yeah, the best way, honestly, is to drop into a DM and Instagram. I have some one-to-one spaces that I'm opening up. If a one-to-one coaching or mentorship is something that you're looking for, my Level Up VIP program, the summer round will start in June. So if you are looking for a group, this is women community, like-minded women, coming together in personal development to really get to that next level of whatever that looks like for you. That is in actually pre-sale right now. So if that's something that's on your heart or you're feeling connected to, send a DM. I would love to open up that conversation.
Beautiful. Well, you guys take that screenshot, share in your Instagram stories, Facebook stories, tag me and Mallory at Mallory Campbell, and let us know that, if you love the episode, go slide into her DMs, slide into mine, any follow-up questions that you guys have. Thank you so much for coming on and this finally happening. And it's happening when it's supposed to, because I don't 100%. Think you could have spoken this candidly before.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And you really can't come on the show and not speak candidly. So you might have been like in a full panic attack.
That may have happened. So yeah, we're just going to lean into that.
Well, thanks for coming on and pouring into us. Love you and appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.